So I'm back in the polytunnel again because it's just so windy, incredibly windy outside. I think we've had 62-mile-an-hour winds or something like that, and it definitely feels like it. I haven't got very much to do. I'm just preparing these beds for replanting. I've already put the calabrese in, as you probably saw last week, and so today I'm just getting ready for the radish. So I'm going to run radish all the way along here, maybe 2 rows of them, and yeah, I think I'll get a nice crop before the calabrese kind of overpower them. And and then hopefully after that the calabrese should be ready in May, and I should then have them all cleared by June when I put the melons in here. So that's the first step. I just got to do the same down that end, and then at these ends here I'm going to put in 2 of my oldest cauliflowers. I'll show you those in a minute. And down at this end I'm just clearing these tatsoi that I harvested at the weekend, and again I'm just going to put radish down here. Last year I put beetroot down here and it worked really well, but I think this year, the beetroot will just take too long and these calabrese will get in the way, so I'm moving the beetroot behind me, and again I'll show you that in a minute. I wish I knew what this was. It's actually quite nice to eat. It was in the tatsoi seed packet, but obviously it's not tatsoi, but I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to pop some holes in down here, ready for the radish. And I've got 40 radish, so I'm going to have to cram them in. I really love module sowing radish. It gets you off to such a quick start. If I was sowing these radish directly in the soil, I wouldn't have any ready for months, but doing it this way, I should have a decent harvest really by sometime in March anyway, early March I should think. And then the final bit of clearing up that I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these 2 claytonia plants out so that I can get my cauliflowers in, and I'm going to do the same at the other end. So these cauliflowers are really gorgeous, and very happy with the way they've grown. I've got a lot of cauliflowers out in the ground as well, but I just saved these 2 because these were the biggest ones, and I've got one purple one and I've got one white one, so I'm hoping that these come first, with them being in the polytunnel, slightly better growing conditions. And they'll soon take over this space and the claytonia will be gone. But for now, they're looking okay. And I absolutely love this whole process. I love trying to figure out how to get the maximum number of successions out of a space. And so I just find it so exciting to sort of keep on trying to grow an ever richer diet with a bit less effort each year. So right now, the focus is on getting a fantastic hungry gap and and still enjoying a nice harvest in winter. But there's only so much you can do in winter. You are kind of a little bit constrained by the lack of sunlight. So there's only so much you can actually bring to harvest. So there's not a lot of point trying to over-optimise winter. Much better trying to do a better job in spring. And, the key thing for me is making sure that all of this stuff that I'm doing now is all out of the ground by the time we get to planting time for the summer crops. And that's one of the reasons that I kind of really like to grow things like melons, because you plant those a little bit later, and cucumbers and things like that. So the stuff that I'm putting in now is basically going into the tomato bed. So these are just little, let me find the label, Caraflex spring cabbages, as I say, for spring greens. The cauliflowers that I've just put in, they're going where the cucumbers are going to go. And again, I tend to put my cucumbers in quite late, definitely towards the end of May, which gives the cauliflowers plenty of time to size up, even underneath the trestle tables, so they're in a little bit of shade, not a huge amount. And then the calabrese, as I said, I think before, they're going where the melons are going to go. And the nice thing about putting calabrese there rather than cauliflowers is that if we're getting a lot of side shoots from the calabrese, we can leave them in the ground a little bit and just leave the melons in pots, because I'll have plenty of early melons in the greenhouse, hopefully. So I don't mind the melons coming just a little bit later in the polytunnel. And then that's the same story outside, where I've got my outside calabrese and cauliflowers. I don't mind them being a little bit later. Right, so that's my little cabbages in. So I've just finished off the early strawberries now, so I've got a lot of hanging baskets in here. Too many really. I'm going to take some of them home and put some in the greenhouse. But that's all the early strawberries done. So I've got, I think, about 10 or 12 perpetual strawberries as well. I haven't got any space to pot those up yet, but once these few lettuces are finished harvesting, I'll bring a few more hanging baskets from home, and I'll get all those done as well. So should have real great kind of strawberry abundance in the polytunnel and the greenhouse in spring, which I'm really looking forward to. So I finally got around to planting these radish, looking really nice. I'm really happy with them. These are the ones that I put 4 radishes in here and 3 there and 2 there. So these ones with 2 obviously will come first, and these 4 will come last. So yeah, it's been interesting actually. I've been reading a few sort of newsletters and things at the moment, and people have been talking about growing early and how, the advantage is only that you get things a couple of weeks before you ordinarily would. Let's look at those, looking lovely. That is not the point. They're completely missing the point. The point really is that when you grow early, you get to eat continuously. If you're waiting until May, before your first harvests, then you're going to be have quite a meagre diet if you wanted to be self-sufficient. So that is part of it. And the other really big reason is to get the maximum number of successions out of your beds. So in my case, I'm always looking to try and achieve something like 4 successions, maybe 5 out of every bed. And if you don't grow early, your timings just won't work, and you'll end up getting 2 maybe 3 successions out of every bed, and sometimes just 1. So there's a lot of advantages to growing early beyond just kind of getting a harvest in about, as I say, like a few weeks earlier. It's not generally a few weeks earlier either. It's often months earlier, especially if you overwinter things, to get a nice early harvest. And you can illustrate it here because, the fact that I've got these calabrese at this point, which is, well, at least 2.5 months earlier than they would be if I started them in February, that means I can have them out of this bed before I need to put the melons in. If I didn't do that and I started them in February, I just wouldn't be able to get a harvest out of this bed of calabrese. And it's the same with these radish. If I hadn't started these radish early, then I also wouldn't have been able to get them harvested in time before these calabrese take up the whole of the bed. So there's a lot to this growing early kind of approach beyond just simply trying to get your veg harvest that little bit earlier. It's all about kind of working with nature to try and get as much, basically to keep the beds fully planted all year round and harvesting all year round and making, giving yourself as rich a diet as possible. I mean, if you didn't grow early, there's no way on earth that you'd be growing 30 different fruits and veggies every week of the year. So what I'm doing here is I'm just alternating the modules with 2 seedlings with the ones with 3 and 4, sort of alternate stations, so that the ones with 2 will be out sort of first, as I said, and then the ones with 4 will have way more light available to them to bring those to maturity a bit later. So that's why I'm moving around so much. And actually this ground is starting to dry out a little bit in here. It isn't outside, so I will be able to give these a bit of a water in, I think, which will be nice for them. These are cherry bell, in case I didn't mention it earlier. Yeah, so that's looking nicer. All the gaps filled, got a few spares there. It's not many days I can plant outside at the moment. It's quite frustrating. Just popping these cauliflowers in. Looking really nice, I'm very happy with them. And these are the Orkney. They're quite young plants, they've only recently been potted on, as you can see. The root balls are quite small, but they're still good enough. And just popping them in between these spinach, and obviously the cauliflowers don't need all this bed space at the moment, and the spinach do. And the spinach is looking really rough, but by the middle of February, it's 26th of January at the moment, so in a couple of weeks time this spinach will start really picking up, and I should get quite a nice harvest, quite a few weeks of harvest out of it before I need to take it out, just to give the cauliflowers a bit more space. And then I'll earth the cauliflowers up a little bit when I do that as well. So yeah, I'm hoping that these Orkney cauliflowers will be harvested towards the end of May, and that'll give me plenty of time then to get melons in this bed, and then the melons will come out and probably have spinach or something back in these beds. And obviously I've been harvesting the spinach all the way through autumn and winter as well, so it certainly doesn't owe me anything. I'm going to put 5 cauliflowers in here, I'll only get the middle one will only give me a small cauliflower, but yeah, still, it's kind of, it'll be nice, little bonus. We don't always want giant cauliflowers. And I'll probably have to take the top off this bed in probably towards the end of March, I should think. But I'll be able to use the cold frame tops as a bit of a windbreak all the way up till that point. I'll start to have to open them up gradually. Basically at the beginning of March, I should think they'll be up here at this sort of height by then. And these cauliflowers will make nice companions to these calabrese, which are in this bed. And these have got the bed to it themselves, and I'm earthing them up now so that they're nice and stable. And I'm kind of creating little troughs around the outside of them here, which eventually I'll be watering into. So yeah, they're looking lovely. They're 25th of September, and those cauliflowers I think are probably about the beginning of October when they were sown. So they've been overwintering in the greenhouse, and these have put on a load of growth since I put them in last week. So I'm really fussy with those. I've got 2 more beds to do. So here's the first tray of calabrese. You can see how windy it is. Getting blown around a bit. I'm going to put them down on the floor actually. So yeah, I've got a lot planted now. I'm almost at the point where I've finished my plantings for spring and early summer. So yeah, I'm kind of quite fussy really to have got all this done, because the weather's been really rubbish basically. And at some points I did kind of despair that I'd ever get these things out, because it's just been so windy and cold. But yeah, it's looking okay today and the next couple of days, so not too bad. These calabrese, the variety is Marathon, these were the 16th of October. So yeah, quite young plants. You know, I like a nice staggered harvest obviously of my calabrese, because we only eat it fresh, and so I've got quite a lot of successions, and the one that will come first hopefully are the ones in the polytunnel, and I'm hoping to get a lot of side shoots off those plants as well. And then these plants, which I'm putting in denser, you know, quite a lot denser actually, that's because I'm only going to harvest whole heads, because I won't have time with these to harvest side shoots, because I'll need the beds for the melons. You do notice quite a substantial difference between plants started even sort of the 25th of September compared to ones planted in early October. You know, even sort of 2.5 weeks makes a huge difference at that time of year to the strength of the plants. Anyway, they're in, looking okay. Quite happy with those. And then these are the youngest plants, and these are 14th of November. In some ways they don't look that much younger, but you'll notice when I turn them out that the root systems will be nowhere near as well developed. To be a bit more careful putting these in the holes. But even though these are almost a month behind in terms of the age of the plants, that'll only amount to 1 or 2 weeks behind in terms of actual harvest time. But you know, that's all you need for a successional harvest. and I've given the plants a really good water before I planted them out, so I'm not watering the actual holes or anything. I let the plants go searching for water a bit deeper down. If I'd have planted them any earlier, then they wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have had enough energy. But now we're sort of almost in February. By the middle of February they'll start regrowing again reasonably quickly, so there's enough water here for them to survive for a week or so. There we go. Not looking quite as good, but as I say, in a few weeks' time they'll look fine. So I'm back with another harvest video. We'll just fly through this just so you can see what we've got. So I'm going to start here actually. So we've got, these are the lettuce bases basically for the salad mixes, and reasonable amount actually, quite pleased with that. And then to those lettuce bases I shall be adding Claytonia. We've got a lot of lovely Claytonia, absolutely gorgeous there, and salad onions, and baby leaf spinach, tatsoi. I've got some lovely lettuce hearts there I'll be breaking up into those salads, and lamb's lettuce. So I think that's everything that's going in the salads. And then we've got spinach for cooking, 3 tubs of that. I've got Brussels sprout leaves, they're looking absolutely lovely, and some pups off the red cabbage, and some red stem pak choi, mixed kale leaves, colettes, just an example of a little squash there. I've got loads of squash, and what are those, Jerusalem artichokes, and Brussels sprouts. I'm just picking the little ones at the moment, saving the big ones for later. Mix of different types of beetroot, some sample onions and some garlic and stuff like that. Some apples from the store, potatoes from the tubs, red cabbage looking really lovely still, and parsnips and colettes. So I think that's pretty much everything fresh. And then Debbie's just been making up some soups, and we've got a fridge full of soups, and so that's the little portions of the squash and lemon, and again just another little portion of the mixed vegetable soup. So yeah, loads of soups. Yeah, so it's quite a nice harvest for the 27th of January, and it gets better from here of course. So yeah, really excited to be getting into February when growth really starts to pick up again. And not just growth, but you know, like leaf quality and everything like that, just so much better. Make up those salads so you can see them. And we're done. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.